Prometheus Vow. Prologue. In darkness, a promise burns. Earth was not conquered. She was silenced. Her cities were not merely bombed. They were rewritten, their ruins layered with alien stone, their names erased from the tongues of the living. No song survived. No flags. Only whispers in the bones of survivors, and stories the stars refused to carry. The war had not been fair. Humanity had barely reached beyond its cradle when the enemy arrived. Beings of fluid flesh and crystal armor, minds tuned to frequencies that could fracture logic and will. They came not with diplomacy nor warning, but with a cleansing flame, driven by a singular sacred directive: subjugate or scorch. Skies turned red, oceans boiled, satellites blinked out one by one. The planetary defense grid, so proudly built across decades, shattered in less than 3 weeks. The moon was bombarded. Mars fell without resistance. Earth was left alone to suffer. And yet, in the ashes of surrender, in the moment of final extinction, Earth made her last move. She built a ship, not a fleet, not a battle group. There wasn't time, just one. Forged in secret in Titan's shadow, assembled by rogue engineers and last loyal soldiers, it was a weapon never meant to exist. Coated black by the remnants of command, Prometheus was loaded with humanity's final cryotroopers, seeded with forbidden technologies, armed with war protocols so ancient and volatile they were sealed behind genetic locks. Its launch was unauthorized. Its mission was unspoken, its return uncertain, but it carried a vow. When Earth calls, return. When she bleeds, fight. When all is lost, burn the sky. Generations passed, the occupation deepened. Resistance grew weak, splintered, paranoid. Soon, even the stories of Prometheus faded into legend, dismissed as hopeful nonsense, until the stars moved. Far beyond Pluto's corpse, in the black cradle of forgotten space, a dormant beacon blinked to life. A signal, ancient, obscene. It pulsed once every 20 seconds, unreadable to alien tech, but unmistakable to the one ship built to hear it. Inside a sleeping mind, long stilled by cryogenic suspension, a heartbeat resumed. Muscle flexed. Metal moaned. Engines whispered to the void, "I remember." And Earth, still scarred, still captive, looked to the stars once more and saw a shadow returning, not salvation, not peace, but vengeance, wearing the skin of a forgotten god. Prometheus had come home. Chapter 1. The sky wakes dust. That was the color of Earth now. Not blue, not green, just dust, choking the air, blanketing the ruins, settling into the mouths of the broken. Chiron had never seen the real sky, not in 16 years of breathing. Factory air in the mining colony zones of New Berlin Sector 12. The world he knew was buried in haze, its heavens hidden behind a permanent cloud dome, a gift from the overlords who controlled the weather like leashes. He stood at the edge of a slag pit, stripped to the waist, fingers blistered from work. Sweat stung his eyes. He wiped it away with a cut sleeve, smearing grease across his brow. Above him, the sun flickered, just once. Then the sky split. Not like a storm, not like lightning. Something deeper. Something wrong. A seam opened in the clouds, a gash of black against the gray, and something began to descend. First came the shadow, then the silhouette. Then the rumble, a low, sub-bass vibration that made bones feel hollow and ancient instincts scream run. Workers paused. Vex enforcers froze mid-patrol. Even the auto drills faltered. All eyes turned upward as the ship broke through the cloud. Shell like a submerged leviathan rising from the deep. It was massive, larger than any vessel Kai had ever seen, longer than a city, deeper than a canyon. Its hull shimmered with damage and ancient war scars, yet it moved with terrifying precision, its black frame outlined by faint pulses of crimson energy. And then the symbols lit up across its side, a language not seen on Earth in centuries. UES Prometheus, Reclamation Protocol, act of a breath caught in Kai's throat. The name was Forbidden, a ghost story passed in whispers through resistance camps and rebel cells, a myth to give children hope and get them killed if they said it too loud. Prometheus, he whispered. Behind him, someone dropped a mining blade. Around him, men and women who hadn't looked up in years were staring like children seeing fire for the first time, and then the screaming started. The skyship moved, not slowly, but like a blade falling. It drifted lower, and from its underbelly, hatches opened with mechanical grace. Energy glowed from within. Not weapons. Not yet. But warning. The Vex reacted first. 6 of them launched into the air, wings of plasma unfurling behind them. Sirens activated. Every loudspeaker across Sector 12 boomed with alien static and enforcement protocols. Return to work. Avoid. Sky. Avoid sky. Violation penalty. Death. But the people didn't move. They had forgotten what hope looked like. Now it stared them in the face, and they didn't know how to respond. Aboard the Prometheus, Commander Rhea Arden stood on the forward deck of the bridge, hands clasped behind her back, eyes locked on the view screen. She wore matte black tactical armor, no rank insignia, none were needed. Everyone aboard Prometheus knew who she was, the voice of the Vow, the one born of legacy and wrath, the first child raised aboard a warship with only history, doctrine, and drills for lullabies. Visual confirmed, said Tactical Officer Czar. Tolan, his voice cold and efficient. Target zone matches legacy coordinates. New Berlin Sector 12, Industrial Labor Zone, Vex held. Rhea's eyes narrowed. Life signs? Thousands. Civilians. Undernourished. Unarmed. Vex enforcers. Present. Local air superiority minimal. No heavy weapons detected. Deploy recon drones. And prep Sky Strike Unit 1. Czar hesitated. Commander, you're not suggesting... I'm not suggesting, Lieutenant. Her voice was iron. We're not here to observe. We're here to wake the world. A moment passed. Czar nodded and tapped the command into his console. Rhea stepped toward the main display. Earth loomed beneath them, wounded, bound, but still spinning. She had never seen it with her own eyes before now. Still, she felt something pull in her chest. Not nostalgia, not love, obligation. She placed her palm on the hollow panel, and ancient circuits accepted her identity. Prometheus command confirmed. Directive Alpha Reclamation active. Let the bastards feel our breath on their necks, Rhea whispered. Let them remember what we are. Earthside, seconds later. The clouds above Sector 12 shimmered, a sound built, not a roar, but a tone, sharp and rising, vibrating through stone and steel and bone. And then 6 beams of light exploded from the ship's undercarriage, striking precise Vex platforms and relay towers. No collateral, no civilian loss. Just surgical fire. Just war saying hello. The sky was no longer silent. It screamed. Chapter 2. Voices from the Ash. The transmission rippled across Earth like thunder under skin. It wasn't meant for the aliens. It wasn't meant for the satellites still drifting like bones in orbit. It was meant for them, the forgotten, the hidden, the wounded pieces of humanity that had survived beneath the boots of the Vex for generations. The transmission was audio only, a voice, female, young, but forged of something old, metallic, purposeful. To all human zones, we are the crew of the Prometheus. We have returned. For a full minute, across 5 continents, the planet held its breath. South America, the ruins of Caracas. A woman with blood on her hands froze mid-stitch. She was crouched in a rubble tent, sewing up the gut of a boy hit by shrapnel. The broadcast hissed from a repurposed helmet on the floor. All around her, rebel medics paused. She stood slowly, ignoring the wet squelch beneath her gloves. Say it again, she whispered. We have returned. Her knees gave out. The needle dropped from her hand. Tears didn't fall, not yet, but her voice cracked as she whispered the words passed down like prayer. When Earth bleeds, they return. Aboard Prometheus, cryodeck. 7 somewhere in the lowest levels of the ship, where no light reached and the hum of power was low and ancient. A lock disengaged. Gas hissed from the seams of a pod marked Dr. Myra Vance, civilian. Strategic Advisor, Earth Defense Directive. Status, suspended animation clearance level, Black Star. The pod lid groaned open. A faint light flickered. Inside, a woman exhaled for the first time in 3 centuries. She coughed violently, body heaving. Tubes retracted. Nanogel flushed from her throat. Her eyes opened. Bloodshot, confused, too human for the place around her. "System, report," she rasped. A gentle chime responded. The voice was synthetic but old, its personality chip-degraded. Its tone fragmented. "You are aboard the UES Prometheus, Earth orbit. Time lapse since departure, 312 years, 7 months. Myra's heartbeat slammed against her ribs. Her mind spun. She remembered launch. She remembered the chaos. She remembered watching Earth shrink to a dot from Titan orbit. She had expected to die in sleep, and yet, here she was, awake, and the ship was back at Earth. Directive active. The system continued. Commander Rhea Arden has initiated reclamation protocol. Situation, planetary occupation, resistance, fractured. Vex command, entrenched. Myra whispered the words like a curse. We're really doing this. Back on Earth. Resistance. Tunnel, Northern Africa. A young man named Elian Cross knelt beside a hologram projector, one hand pressed to his earpiece, the other clutching a battered rifle. He looked to the ceiling of the tunnel like he could somehow see the stars. He was a commander now. Not by choice, but by survival. He had watched the old leaders die, some in fire, some in betrayal. Now they looked to him. And now, he looked up. A scout sprinted into the tunnel. "Sir, broadcast confirmed in every zone. It's not a trick. The signal's bouncing through Vex scrubbers like they're not even there." Elian didn't speak. He moved to the edge of the tunnel, where the red dust fell through cracks in the ceiling. "They actually came back," the scout whispered. "They kept the vow." Elian stared through the dust, jaw set. "No," he said softly. "They don't know what this place is anymore. They think they're coming back to save a planet." He turned, eyes hard. "They don't know it's already a grave." Aboard Prometheus, Command Bridge Commander Rhea Arden watched the fires spread across the hollow map of Earth. Cities flickering with signals, resistance nodes igniting like fireflies. The world long dormant was stirring beneath her boots. She didn't smile. Not yet. "Drop Skystrike Unit 1, she ordered. Zar blinked. "Direct insertion. That's a declaration of open war." Rhea turned to him, voice low and final. "Good. EXT, nightfall over." Sector 12-6 black pods fell from the belly of Prometheus, silent as knives. No flare, no heat trail, just steel, speed, and purpose. On the ground, Kai Ren didn't run. He didn't hide. He watched as one pod slammed into the ground 30 meters away, crushing the bones of a Vex enforcer like paper, and unfolded itself into a humanoid shape, plated in obsidian armor, eyes burning blue. The figure stepped forward, dragging a plasma halberd in one hand, its voice filtered through war code. "Enemy of Earth, release control of this zone. Failure to comply will result in total loss of privilege to breathe." The Vex opened fire. The unit moved, and Earth's war began again. Chapter 3, The Girl Who Remembers the Sky. The first thing Rhea Arden felt was heat. Not warmth, not sunlight. Raw, broken heat. The kind that clings to the bones of a dying world. Dust kicked up as her boots struck Earth's soil for the first time in her life. Sensors in her suit lit red. Radiation, airborne toxins, volatile chemical traces, but she disabled the filters anyway. She wanted to smell the world they'd come to reclaim, smoke, metal, rot, and underneath it all, ash. She stepped forward. Around her, The Skystrike team secured the landing zone with cold efficiency. Bodies, Vex and human, littered the ruined street. Resistance fighters peered from shattered buildings, unsure if they should aim their weapons or fall to their knees. Rhea ignored them all. Her eyes locked on a girl standing alone in the middle of the road. She was young, 18, maybe less. But her shoulders were squared like someone twice her age. Her arms were bandaged, her clothes stained with soot and blood. A scavenged rifle was strapped to her back, but she didn't reach for it. She just stared. Rhea approached slowly. "Name," she said, voice clipped. The girl didn't flinch. "Lyra, Sector 12, Rebel Node Gamma." "You're not afraid," Lyra blinked. "I've seen gods die screaming. You don't scare me." Something flickered in Rhea's eyes. Approval, maybe, or something colder. "Good," Rhea said. "Fear is wasted on survivors." Lyra stepped forward. "You're real. The Prometheus is real." "Is that what they told you?" Rhea asked. "That we were a myth?" Lyra's jaw clenched. "They told us you abandoned us." Rhea's expression didn't change. "We weren't ready," she said simply. "If we came back too soon, Earth would have been lost again. This time we come back to end it." Lyra's voice sharpened. "We ended things down here every damn day. You just weren't around to bleed for it." The words hit harder than plasma fire. Rhea stared at the girl, not angry, not wounded, but seen. "You're right," she said quietly. "We didn't bleed, but we came back to make sure no one else has to." Silence stretched between them, then Lyra nodded, just once. "We've got survivors 5 blocks east. Vex are regrouping. Heavy unit en route." Rhea tapped her comms. "Zar, prep orbital strike on coordinates I'm sending. Send a medical detachment. Civilian command is now co-ops." "Acknowledged," came the reply. Lyra blinked. "You just gave me command authority?" "You earned it," Rhea said. "You don't know me." "I know you survived," Rhea said, turning away. "That's the only credential that matters. Now." Moments later, above the clouds high above, Prometheus turned slowly in orbit, its weapons bays glowing hotter. Inside the war room, Zartolan watched Vex formations mobilize across the planet. They weren't confused anymore. They weren't treating this like a skirmish. They knew. The warship had returned, and it wasn't leaving this time. Earth, resistance tunnel, nightfall. Lyra watched the medics arrive, people in sleek armor moving, with precision, kindness, and clarity. For the first time in her life, she saw order. Not fear, not oppression. Discipline. She turned back to where Rhea stood alone, staring out at the distant stars. "You came back," Lyra said. Rhea didn't. "Look at her. We never left," she answered. "We just hadn't landed yet." Chapter 4, The Price of Forgiveness. She didn't recognize her own face. Dr. Myra Vance stood before a mirror in the medbay of Prometheus, fingers trembling as they traced the lines time had forgotten to carve. She looked the same, 36. Sharp features, hazel eyes. Yet somewhere beneath the surface, she was older than anyone left alive. She had volunteered for stasis, one last gamble from Earth's brightest civilian strategist. She had helped design Prometheus, help write its logic protocols, help seed its mind with everything humanity had left to give. And now she was awake, alive, while everything she knew was ash. The door hissed open. Commander Rhea Arden stepped inside, helmet under one arm, a hard edge in her gait. "You could have stayed under," Rhea said. "The system woke you on a legacy override. You're not essential to mission ops." Myra turned slowly. "You're right, I'm not." Rhea raised an eyebrow. "Then why not stay dead?" Myra's voice cracked, calm but full of tectonic pressure. "Because I made a mistake." Rhea said nothing. "I built this ship as a fail-safe. I helped design weapons so dangerous we swore never to use them. I thought the Vex would come and go, that the world would adapt." She met Rhea's eyes. "But we were wrong, and I intend to pay for it." Bridge, war room. Level holograms rotated around tactical officer Zartolan like planets caught in orbit. Red Vex formations, yellow civilian pockets, green resistance nodes blinking to life across continents. He tapped a new reading. "Commander," he called, "we're detecting deep field activity on the far side of the moon." Rhea turned from the main viewport. "Type?" "Power signature is old, older than Vex infrastructure. They've uncovered something." Myra stepped onto the bridge behind her, eyes scanning the data feed. Her breath caught. "No," she muttered. "They found the Black Vault." Zar frowned. "That sounds poetic." "I don't like poetic." Myra stepped forward, fingers flying over the console. It was a fallback site. Earth's last deep cradle weapons bunker, buried beneath the lunar sea. Nothing was supposed to remain. We were told it self-destructed during the Vex invasion. Rhea crossed her arms. Apparently it didn't. Zar tapped the map. They're moving heavy transports, shield platforms, excavation arms. Myra's face darkened. If they breach the vault and adapt what's in there, she hesitated, then looked up. "It won't be a war. It'll be erasure." Earthside, Sector 12, Rebel Camp Lyra sat on a rusted balcony, the rifle across her knees. The sunset was a blood-orange smear above the ruins. Children ran beneath her, laughing. For the first time in her life, they weren't playing at war. They were just playing. She wiped a tear away before it could fall. Beside her, a comms device crackled. "Lyra, this is Commander Arden. You're patched into Prometheus Command. I need you to hear this." The channel widened. Myra's voice came through. Tired, intelligent, scarred. "The Vex are digging, deep. We think they've found a weapons vault on the moon that predates even their arrival. If they get access to what's inside, it won't just mean Earth is lost. It means Prometheus won't matter. Nothing will. We need time. We need a distraction. We need you to do what you've done all your life. Survive loudly." The moon, subsurface level, 9. The chamber was alive with sound. Crystal servitors floated in humming orbits. Armored Vex moved with unnatural fluidity, claws working. Through a black vault door, older than most civilizations, symbols flickered across its surface. Human, preoccupation, almost mystical. The Vex Prime, towering, robed in living circuitry, watched from a raised platform. It tilted its head as the final seal broke. Behind the door, something pulsed, something that had once been human technology, and now wasn't. The Prime turned toward the stars. It had been waiting. Prometheus had returned, and now, so would the fire Earth was never meant to touch again. Chapter 5. Moonfall. They descended in silence, not because there was fear, but because what waited below did not deserve music. Only war. The Prometheus's tactical dropship Erebus sliced through the void between Earth and Moon like a blade in a dark sea. Inside, Commander Rhea Arden sat armored and motionless, visor lowered, gauntleted hands wrapped around the grips of her pulse rifle. To her left, Myra Vance suited up for the first time in over 3 centuries. Body unfamiliar, mind aflame. To her right, Skystrike Unit 1 locked weapons into magnetic clamps, faces hidden behind masks forged from history. "You're quiet," Zar said over the comms from orbit. "That's either focus or you're planning to die again." Rhea didn't blink. "Both. Prep fire cover. If we're not back in 48 minutes, vaporize the site." Acknowledged. "You've got fire permission on plasma rounds, but remember, whatever's in that vault might still be part of us." Rhea's voice was iron. "Then let it die with us." The moon. Surface, near side crater. They landed in blackout. No lights, no engines. Just momentum and intention. Rhea led the charge across dust and broken glass, boots kicking up decades of silence. The vault was a jagged scar cut into the crater wall. Part machine, part tomb. It pulsed now. It breathed. Motion sensors flared. Vex. Defenders rose from the stone, spidery, elegant, monstrous. Their limbs twitched with stolen biology, Their voices glitched with stolen language. Human signal, identified. Eradication, required. Rhea moved first. Her halberd cut through the air, slicing metal like water. Plasma bolts shredded 2 sentries before they fired. Skystrike followed her in, a machine chorus of fury, moving with surgical rage. Myra stayed back, fingers flicking, through data feeds, hacking pulse arrays and scanning the vault door. "They're deep in," she said. "Layer 9 is already open. If they reach 10, we lock it down first," Rhea said, driving a blade through a Vex throat. "Then, we seal it." Myra hesitated. "We can't just seal it. What's inside? It's alive." Rhea paused, eyes narrowing. "Explain." "Inside the vault, Layer 10 it wasn't technology, not anymore. It was a dream of annihilation, crystallized in flesh and steel. Dozens of Vex now surrounded the core, kneeling in silence. The Prime stood before it, arms outstretched, its voice whispering in every human frequency. "This is what your ancestors feared. This is what they buried in lunar stone. This is your fire returned." The core opened like a flower. From within emerged something not Vex, but twisted by them, a construct of Earth origin. Human bones wrapped in nanocarbon, a living reactor at its chest. Its eyes blinked once, then stared up at the stars as if remembering how to burn them. The vault's final failsafe had not been a bomb. It had been a being, a weapon. Prometheus's twin. "Moon entryway, combat zone." Echo Myra's voice shook. "They didn't build it to destroy the Vex," she said. "They built it to destroy us if we ever lost." Rhea froze mid-strike. Scorched Earth plan." "Yes," Myra breathed, "but it never activated. They buried it, hoped it would stay dead. It didn't. Earth orbit. Aboard Prometheus Tsar watched the readings spike off the scale. The vault was no longer just a chamber. It was a beacon, power surged to orbital levels. Something was calling, not to the moon, but to deep space. A signal meant for others, not Vex. Something older. Something that had once taught humanity how to kill. He leaned into the comms. "Commander, we have a problem. Moon core, battle site layer." 10 Rhea saw it rise. The being, the weapon, tall as a shuttle. Bones blackened with solar scars, chest humming with antimatter decay. Myra whispered its name from a file lost to time, Project Pyre. The construct turned its eyes to Rhea and smiled. "You came home," it said. Then it raised its hand and burned the sky. Chapter 6, The God That Burns. The world turned gold. Not the gold of glory or sunset or hope, but the gold of extinction, bright, merciless, and final. Rhea Arden stood at the edge of the vault's core chamber, one arm raised to shield. Her visor, as the being known as Project Pyre, rose fully from its cradle. Behind her, Skystrike lay scattered, burned, disarmed, wounded. Myra knelt beside a downed trooper, trying to stabilize what was left of him. "Radiation spikes," she called out, her voice jagged. "EMP pulse at 40 rads. He's cooking us." Slowly. "Like he knows we're not running." "Because he remembers us," Rhea muttered. "He thinks we're the ones who left him here." Pyre stepped forward, its feet striking stone with a metallic ring like a funeral drum. Every motion it made triggered resonance. The walls trembled, lights dimmed, machinery from centuries past blinked to life and recognized him. The thing was not angry. It was resolved. Like a priest at the altar of fire, preparing humanity for one final absolution. It looked at Rhea. "I was born to be the last thing you'd ever unleash. Now I am the only thing left to protect you." Earth orbit, Prometheus Bridge Tsar. Tolan watched the telemetry with clenched fists. "Commander," he said into comms, "this is suicide. That thing is pulling energy from our reactor through the moon's core. It was designed to integrate with us. It's feeding off the Prometheus as we speak." Rhea's reply came flat. "Can we shut it down remotely?" Tsar's hands flew over the console. "Negative. Core keys are legacy coded. One of them is still on the moon. The other..." Myra's voice broke in. Is me. The vault. Level 10. Outer rim. Myra stepped forward, trembling. She looked up at the construct like a scientist facing her god, and realizing she built the wrong one. You were designed to be the countermeasure. You were supposed to protect what remained of us if the Vex consumed the world. Pyre tilted its head. Then let me do my work. You don't understand, she pleaded. Earth survived. People fought. They're still fighting. Fighting is suffering. Suffering is unsustainable. I can end it. Myra's eyes shimmered. No, she said, quiet but sharp. You're not mercy. You're relief. The kind that comes with a loaded barrel. Flashback. Earth, 3012 AD. Vault conception. They had named it Project Pyre after Prometheus's flame, meant to rise only when all else had failed. The last scientists of Earth had debated for days. What if the next invasion came when no one was left to resist? So they built one who could finish the war in every direction, by burning everything. Present. Vault chamber. Moonpyre lifted his arm. A solar lance surged from his palm, pure plasma engineered for orbital annihilation. He didn't fire it. He pointed it at Prometheus, still turning in Earth's upper orbit. Your time has passed. I am the clean ending you were never brave enough to choose. Then you don't know us at all, Rhea said coldly. And she ran. Straight at him. Combat, vault core. The next 60 seconds were legend. Rhea dodged a thermal blast that liquefied stone. Skystrike rallied, moving as one, bodies broken, hearts defiant. Myra cracked her neural uplink and sent a kill code straight into Pyre's chest, and watched it fail. Override denied, Pyre said calmly. Myra Vance, you no longer possess authority. Myra's lips parted. He evolved! Rhea screamed across the comms. Zar, give me Prometheus's auxiliary AI. We need raw access to the memory core. Zar responded with fire support, ion beams from orbit crashing into the lunar surface. Dust engulfed the vault, blinding both sides. Pyre staggered once, just enough. Rhea leapt high, boost thrusters flaring, and jammed her halberd straight into his spine. Let's see how divine you feel with a blade in your back. Pyre roared, not in pain, but in disappointment. You still fight like humans. Rhea's eyes burned behind her visor. That's the point. Chapter 7. Ashes of Tomorrow. Earth had no sunrise anymore. The sky glowed with orbital fire, streaks of plasma arcing through cloudless heavens. The world had learned to live without daylight, but it remembered the color of hope, and hope had a new name now. Lyra. She stood on the edge of a shattered comms tower in Sector 12, the stolen Prometheus beacon transmitter slung across her shoulder. Below her the crowd grew, hundreds of survivors, resistance fighters, civilians, and old soldiers. Dust drifted in the air like ancient snow. She hit the broadcast switch. This is Lyra of the Free East, she said, and I'm not asking anymore. The myths you've heard are true. The Prometheus is real, it's back, and so is the war. But this time, we finish it. Moon, vault ruins, inner core Pyre staggered. Smoke rose from its fractured back where Rhea's halberd still crackled with antimatter charge. He turned, slow, deliberate, and reached for her. She was faster. She activated a grav pulse detonator, dropping him to one knee as Myra screamed into the uplink, fingers buried in ancient code like a surgeon trying to stop a bleeding son. He's rejecting every override protocol, she said. I need more time. Rhea ducked under a plasma swipe. You don't have more time. The moon groaned. Power surged upward through the stone. Pyre wasn't falling apart. He was pulling himself together, feeding on ambient energy, using the Prometheus's own resonant orbit as a tether. Zar's voice broke through on comms. Rhea, we've got a problem. He's syncing with our main reactor. If this completes, he'll have enough power to atomize a planet. Rhea didn't flinch. Then we cut the cord. Earth, resistance tunnels, base. Gamma Lyra burst into the lower chamber where old world tech blinked weakly. She'd found it hidden beneath an old UN bunker, one last transmission node capable of uplinking to orbital defense satellites. Milo, her second in command, looked up. You sure this'll work? She dropped her bag on the table. Inside, EMP. Grenades, a fusion knife, and a half-functional Vex uplink drive. It doesn't have to work, she said. It just has to hurt. She plugged in the transmitter and spoke. To all rebel factions, this is not a drill. The Vex have found something on the moon that can end us all. We hit them now. Everywhere at once. Light the skies. Give Prometheus a reason to come back burning. Moon. Final confrontation. Vault core. Collapse, Myra screamed as the code bit back, fire lancing through her synapses. Rhea caught her before she fell. He's locked the core, Myra gasped. I can't stop it. He's going to take the Prometheus with him, turn it into a sun that never sets. Pyre rose behind them, full height, arms outstretched. Your fire was always borrowed, he intoned. I am its rightful heir. And Rhea did something no one expected. She dropped her weapon, took off her helmet, faced him bare. You're right, she said. You are our legacy, but so am I. She stepped forward. No armor, no shield, no fear. We made you because we thought strength meant destruction, but that's not what kept us alive. It was this. She opened her hand, and inside burned the last override key. Pyre paused. You would end me? She nodded. I would choose us over you. Every time. And she drove the key into the heart of his chest. Prometheus, orbit disengagement czar, watched as Pyre's sync link snapped. The ship lurched, systems flickering, but the core held. Commander, he whispered, stunned. You just pulled a god's plug. Moon vault. Seconds before collapse, the chamber cracked open like a dying lung. Pyre looked down at Rhea, not angry, not afraid, just at peace. Thank you, he said, and he burned. Earth. Worldwide rebellion, Lyra's transmission echoed across continents. Explosions lit up the skies as resistance cells launched their final gambit. They weren't trying to win. They were trying to make the Vex bleed, to keep them distracted long enough for the warship above to finish what had begun so long ago. And then, as the first light of the next day broke, the Prometheus descended. Chapter 8. The Sun That Rose Too Late. Earth burned, not with the bright roaring flames of old, but with a cold, relentless fire that crept beneath the skin of every city and every soul. From orbit, the Prometheus hung heavy against the dusky orange horizon, a battered sentinel returning to a home nearly unrecognizable. The planet below was a fractured mosaic of battle-scarred ruins, flickering lights of resistance outposts, and the cold mechanical glow of the Vex in their unyielding advance. Commander Rhea Arden stood motionless on the bridge, her eyes narrowed beneath the shadow of her helmet's HUD. The air was thick with static, radio chatter, distant explosions, and the silent weight of loss pressing down like gravity. Earth. Sector 12, Rebel Headquarters. Lyra paced the command chamber, her leather boots striking a steady rhythm on the cracked concrete floor. The glow of flickering monitors cast sharp shadows over her determined face. Her voice, when she spoke to the gathered commanders and fighters, carried the iron edge of resolve forged through years of relentless war. The Vex adapt faster than we ever imagined, she said, voice low but steady. Every attack we've launched is met with more than just force. It's strategy. They're learning, evolving. Her second-in-command, Milo, stepped forward, eyes haunted but fierce. They've integrated parts of Pyre's core tech into their hive mind, Milo said grimly. We're not just fighting machines, we're fighting their god now. Lyra nodded slowly. Which means we can't fight the way we did before. It's time to get creative. Prometheus. Descent sequence below her. The Prometheus groaned as it pierced the upper atmosphere, shaking under the pressure of re-entry. On the bridge, Rhea's fingers tightened around the rail. Pyre was supposed to be the final weapon, but it seems we've only awakened something worse. Tsar Tolan's voice came calm but urgent from the tactical console. The Vex are synchronizing, their hive with remnants of Pyre's code. It's destabilizing the planetary grid and boosting their hive coordination. If we don't cut them off, Earth's defenses will collapse. Rhea exhaled slowly, masking the burning weight of responsibility. Then we end their coordination.
Tonight.
Earth. Battle of Sector 12. The landing was anything but subtle. The Prometheus slammed down in the center of Sector 12, sending shockwaves through the cracked earth. Dust and debris spiraled upward, choking the sky with grit and ash. The distant roar of Vex plasma fire painted red streaks across the horizon. Rhea stepped down the ramp, her armor battered but unyielding. Skystrike operatives fanned out immediately, their precision gunfire cutting through advancing Vex. Lyra met her halfway, eyes blazing with fierce determination beneath a dusty helmet. They're pressing harder than ever, civilians caught in. The crossfire are piling up. Then we fight harder, Rhea said, voice grim. We win. Explosions echoed through ruined streets. The battle was brutal. Metal against flesh, plasma against steel, hope against despair. Every step forward was soaked in sacrifice. Central Comms Hub. Inside the shattered UN communications tower, Myra knelt over a terminal, sweat dripping from her brow. Fingers moved at lightning speed across the ancient keyboard, hacking and rerouting through layers of corrupted code. Just a few more seconds, Myra murmured, teeth clenched. Outside, the hum of incoming Vex drones grew louder, a DA, metallic chorus of destruction closing in. Come on, she whispered. Final push outside. Rhea roared a battle cry, halberd ablaze with electric fury as she cut through the advancing Vex like a storm incarnate. For Earth, she bellowed. The resistance fighters rallied behind her, surging forward with renewed ferocity. Inside the comm hub, Myra slammed the final key. I'm in, disrupting their network now. Across the city, Vex formations began to falter, coordination breaking down. Confusion rippled through the enemy ranks, aftermath. Silence fell like a fragile veil, survivors huddled amidst the rubble, breathing heavy, bloodied but alive. The fires of battle still smoldered beneath a sky painted with stars. Rhea lowered her visor, revealing eyes that burned with stubborn hope. She looked to Lyra, who stood tall amidst the weary fighters. This is only the beginning. Lyra's lips curved into a tired but fierce smile. Then let's make sure it's a beginning, worth fighting for. A quiet moment later, as the city slowly settled into uneasy calm, Rhea stood alone on a rooftop, staring up at the cold, indifferent stars. She whispered, barely audible, "For every spark lost, I swear we will be the flame that refuses to die." The war was far from over. The price would be high, but Earth had fire still. Chapter 9, Fire in the Darkness. The silence inside Sector 12's rebel stronghold was heavier than the battlefield's roar had ever been. The war outside had quieted, for now, but the shadows that lingered within were darker, colder, and infinitely more dangerous. Commander Rhea Arden stood near a cracked window overlooking the city ruins. The orange glow of distant fires flickered against the night sky, painting a bleak canvas of destruction. Her jaw clenched as the weight of the war settled into her bones. This war was not just against the Vex, it was against doubt, against fear and fractured loyalties. The War Council room. Lyra sat at the head of the long metal table, her face illuminated by the flickering holographic maps projected above. The room was crowded with commanders, resistance leaders, scientists and strategists from across the shattered globe. Each carried their own scars, physical and emotional, and each knew the stakes were higher than ever. "We have no time for division," Lyra's voice rang out, sharp and unyielding. "We need a single unified plan, now. The Vex aren't just attacking, they're evolving." A grizzled commander slammed his fist on the table, causing the holograms to jitter. "Evolving or not, they're still machines. Machines can be destroyed." His voice was thick with anger. "Negotiations or surrender are for the weak. We fight harder, or we die." From the opposite corner, a younger scientist leaned forward, eyes wide with urgency. "It's not that simple. The Vex have integrated Pyre's code. Their hive mind is learning faster than any biological enemy we've faced. Our weapons, tactics, they're becoming obsolete before we can adapt." A murmur spread across the room. "We can't beat what we don't understand," she continued. "If we don't find a way to disrupt the Hive's core programming, the entire planet will fall." Lyra's gaze swept the room, locking eyes with Rhea. Then what's our next move? Rhea's voice was quiet, but deadly serious. We unite. Every faction, every rebel cell. We put aside grievances and fight as one. The moment we fracture, we fall. There was silence. The truth in her words hung heavy like smoke. A shadow moves. In the cold, twisting corridors far below, a figure slipped, unseen through the shadows. Cloaked in darkness and silence, the spy was a ghost inside the fortress. Hidden from prying eyes, the traitor connected a small uplink device, fingers moving with practiced ease. Pyre's core remnants are vulnerable. The spy transmitted in a hushed tone, voice clipped and emotionless. The Hive network's fractured. They believe they've won. But the real war has just begun. The cold, metallic voice of the enemy commander answered with a single word. Good. Prepare the next phase. Rhea's reflection later, in the dim light of her quarters, Rhea traced the edges of an old photograph. A younger version of herself, standing next to a towering war machine, the original Prometheus. Her voice was barely audible. Pyre was never just a weapon. It was us, our fears, our mistakes, and our salvation. Her calm crackled to life. Commander Arden, unusual energy spikes detected near the vault ruins. Her eyes snapped open, alert. Prepare for immediate extraction. We're going back. Myra's dangerous gamble. In a hidden lab filled with flickering lights and humming machinery, Myra worked feverishly. Around her lay fragments of ancient technology, cables tangled like serpents, and data streams flickering in the air. If I can isolate Pyre's core code, she muttered, we might just turn his power against the hive mind. Her hands shook as she connected a delicate neural interface, sweat beading on her brow. It's a risk, one that could save us, or doom us all. The quiet. Before the storm outside, the city lay silent but alive. Fires burned low in distant ruins, and the stars blinked cold and indifferent. Rhea stood alone on the rooftop, the night wind tugging at her cloak. We fight in light and shadow, she whispered, because the enemy hides in both. Her eyes scanned the horizon, burning with fierce determination. No matter the cost, Earth will not fall tonight. Chapter 10, The Last Ember. The night was heavy, thick with the acrid scent of smoke and the bitter tang of metal. The skies above Sector 12 were dark, starless, an oppressive void that swallowed the remnants of a city scarred beyond recognition. The Prometheus loomed on the landing pad like a wounded beast, its hull battered but still resolute, engines humming with a deep, steady power that seemed to echo the heartbeat of Earth itself. Commander Rhea Arden stood alone at the edge of the platform, her armor dulled by dust and the blood of countless battles. Her gaze was locked on the distant ruins of the vault, a relic of a forgotten age, now a fractured husk under the cold light of the moon. Her breath came slow and measured, fog curling like ghosts in the chill air. Every breath a reminder of those lost. Every heartbeat a promise to those who still fought. The vault ruins. The vault had once been a monument to humanity's ambition, a fortress filled with ancient technology, secrets locked away from even the brightest minds. But war had shattered it, tearing away its grandeur until only jagged edges and blackened stone remained. Rhea led the strike team carefully through the rubble-strewn streets. Shadows clung to the crumbling walls like predators, flickering with the red glints of hostile eyes. The silence between the soft crunch of boots on broken concrete was sharp, broken only by whispered orders and the low hum of energy shields. "Stay sharp," Rhea whispered, voice tight as a drawn bowstring. "We're not just walking into ruins. We're stepping into the heart of their beast." Her squad moved like ghosts, weapons raised, senses alert for any sign of the Vex. Inside, the core beneath the shattered surface in the vault's core chamber, Myra worked feverishly. The ancient consoles flickered to life beneath her hands, humming with power that was both alien and familiar. The air here was thick, charged with static, with echoes of the past, with the promise of something dangerous and terrible. Can isolate Pyre's core code, Myra said, lips pressed in a thin line. I might be able to hijack the Hive mind's control matrix, disrupt their entire network. Her fingers danced across the holographic interface, sweat trickling down her temple as the systems responded sluggishly to her commands. Suddenly, a low tremor shook the chamber. The vault shuddered under the impact of distant explosions. "They're coming!" Rhea's voice crackled in her comm. "Hold your ground, Myra. We won't let them take this place." The battle erupts. Outside, the strike team was battered by waves of Vex drones, their metallic bodies shimmering in the dim light. Plasma bolts tore through the air, sizzling against makeshift barricades and the shattered remains of once great monuments. Rhea's halberd flashed with electric fire, every strike carving through Vex armor with deadly precision. "For Earth!" she roared, voice raw with determination, as her team surged forward against the mechanical horde. Explosions rocked the streets, sending shards of concrete and sparks flying like deadly rain. The Vex were relentless, but so were the defenders of Earth. Myra's breakthrough. Inside the core chamber, Myra's screen flickered violently, streams of code racing faster than her eyes could follow. Her voice was strained, but resolute. "I've found the core subroutine. Initiating override sequence in 3, 2, 1. A pulse of blinding light exploded from the console, rippling through the vault systems like a shockwave. The very ground beneath them hummed with renewed energy, the ancient technology awakening from its slumber. The Hive mind falters outside. The Vex assault faltered. Their once fluid movements grew jerky, disorganized. Plasma weapons sputtered and misfired as confusion spread through their ranks. "They're losing synchronization," Milo shouted, gripping his rifle with white-knuckled intensity. Rhea's eyes blazed with renewed fire. "This is our moment! Push forward, now!" The resistance fighters pressed the advantage, relentless, fierce, unyielding, a costly victory gun. The victory was far from complete. From the depths of the shattered vault, a monstrous Vex sentinel emerged, a colossus forged from dark metal and burning fury. Its eyes glowed with malevolent light as it towered over the battlefield, a living nightmare made flesh and steel. Rhea met its gaze without hesitation, halberd blazing with incandescent fury. "This ends now," she growled. The battlefield held its breath. Chapter 11. Ashes and Embers. The night was a crucible of fire and steel, the air thick with the acrid tang of burning metal and the bitter sting of ash. Smoke curled and twisted through the skeletal remains of buildings, drifting like lost souls among the shattered streets of the vault ruins. The faint orange glow of distant fires cast long, flickering shadows that danced across the cracked concrete. The monstrous Vex sentinel towered over the battlefield, a living colossus forged from dark, gleaming metal and cold, merciless intelligence. Its glowing crimson eyes burned like twin suns in the dark, locking onto Commander Rhea Arden with unrelenting focus. Rhea stood her ground, halberd gripped firmly in both hands, the weapon's blade crackling with raw electric energy. Her armor bore the scars of countless battles, scratches, dents, and bloodstains, but her spirit remained unbroken. "You believe you can crush us," Rhea said, her voice low and fierce, cutting through the chaos like a blade. "But we are the last embers, and embers can ignite a wildfire that consumes everything." Her breath came steady, each inhale feeding her resolve, each exhale a vow of defiance. The clash of titans. The sentinel surged forward with terrifying speed, its massive claws slicing through the night air, aimed to tear Rhea apart. She met the strike head-on, her halberd swinging in a brilliant arc, sparks exploding as weapon met metal. The force of their collision sent shockwaves rippling through the ground, shattering nearby debris and sending dust swirling like a storm. Around them, the resistance fighters were locked in brutal combat with waves of Vex drones. Bolts of plasma screamed past, lighting up the darkness in deadly streaks. The sound of gunfire, clashing steel, and battle cries echoed across the battlefield, an unrelenting symphony of war. Rhea's every movement was a deadly dance, dodging, parrying, striking with precision honed through years of hardship. Her heart pounded with the rhythm of war. and she could feel the weight of every fallen comrade urging her forward. A friend falls. Suddenly, a piercing scream cut through the chaos. Milo, one of Rhea's closest allies and a stalwart fighter, was struck by a searing plasma blast that tore through his armor. He collapsed to the ground, clutching his side as blood seeped through his fingers. Rhea's gaze snapped toward him, pain flashing in her eyes but quickly replaced by iron resolve. "Milo!" she shouted, rushing to his side. Milo gritted his teeth, struggling to speak. "Keep fighting. Don't let them win." Rhea pressed a hand over his wound, voice shaking but fierce. "I won't let you down." She turned back to the Sentinel, fury fueling her every move. "For every life lost, we fight twice as hard." Her battle cry rallied the resistance fighters, who surged forward with renewed vigor. Inside the core, Myra's gamble far below in the heart of the vault, Myra worked feverishly. The ancient consoles flickered erratically as she struggled to maintain the override sequence. "I'm losing control," she gasped, sweat slicking her brow. "If I don't shut this down soon, the feedback will collapse the entire system and take us all with it." Her fingers trembled over the controls, eyes locked on the cascading lines of code that blurred and shifted with alarming speed. The chamber hummed with raw energy, the air vibrating with tension. "Come on. Come on." With a final, desperate keystroke, Myra initiated the shutdown protocol. The Sentinels fall back on the battlefield. The Sentinel staggered, its mechanical roar twisting into a grinding screech. Sparks flew from exposed circuits as the chaos within its core systems spread like wildfire. Rhea seized the moment, charging forward with a primal roar. Her halberd glowed brighter, crackling with electric fury as she drove the blade deep into the Sentinel's core. The giant trembled, groaning like a wounded beast before collapsing with an earth-shaking crash that sent shockwaves through the ruins. Silence fell, thick, heavy, and profound. After the battle, the fires still smoldered, casting a dim glow over the battlefield strewn with the fallen, both friend and foe. The harsh reality of their survival settled like dust on their shoulders. Rhea knelt beside Milo's motionless form, closing his eyes with gentle hands. Her breath hitched as she whispered a silent farewell. She rose slowly, turning to the weary fighters around her. "This war is far from over, but tonight, we are still standing." Her voice was soft but unwavering, carrying the weight of every sacrifice, every tear, and every hope still burning bright. Above them, the first pale light of dawn began to break through the smoky sky, a fragile promise of rebirth. Chapter 13, The Hive Descent. The dawn had barely broken when the strike team assembled at the edge of the ruined city. The ground beneath their boots trembled faintly, a subtle reminder of the dark heart that pulsed beneath the surface. "Commander." Rhea Arden stood at the forefront, her gaze steeled with purpose and unyielding fire. Around her, the faces of the resistance were tired, battered, but unbroken. The air was thick with tension, but also something far more powerful: hope. Into the catacombs, a narrow shaft carved into the earth yawned before them, the entrance to the Vex Hive's core, buried deep beneath layers of ancient stone and twisted metal. Torchlight flickered along the walls as the team descended into the cold, silent labyrinth. The hum of Vex machinery pulsed through the air like the steady beat of a monstrous heart. Every step echoed with the ghosts of 1,000 lost battles. "Stay close," Rhea commanded, her voice low but sharp. "This place is their fortress, but it's also their weakness." The hive mind's fury deep in the tunnels, the strike team faced traps and twisted machines designed to kill without mercy. Automated turrets erupted in lethal arcs of fire. Swarms of smaller Vex drones poured from hidden vents, their glowing eyes fixed with singular intent. The air vibrated with the hive mind's rage, a relentless, pulsing force trying to crush every spark of resistance. Lyra moved with calculated grace, dismantling traps with expert precision. Milo's rifle barked constantly, covering every flank. Myra's fingers flew over a portable console, hacking and disabling systems as they went. "The core is just ahead," Myra said, voice taut with urgency. We have to move fast. The final confrontation, the tunnel opened into a vast cavern in the heart of the Hive. At its center, a massive orb of swirling energy pulsed rhythmically, alive with cold, calculating intelligence. Rhea stepped forward, raising her halberd, as the hive mind's voice echoed through the chamber, a cold metallic chorus that chilled the soul. You are insects beneath the foot of evolution. Your resistance is futile. But Rhea's reply was fire, not fear. We are the flame that will burn your darkness away. With a roar, the battle erupted, halberd clashing against swirling energy, plasma bolts against ancient defenses. The team fought with everything they had, every strike a statement of defiance, every breath a testament to their unyielding will, sacrifice and triumph. The hive mind lashed out, overwhelming and relentless. Milo fell, shielding Lyra from a lethal blast. Myra's console sparked and died, forcing her to fight. With sheer grit alone, Rhea's strength wavered but never broke. With a final devastating strike, she drove her halberd into the core's pulsating center. A blinding explosion of light filled the chamber, shaking the very foundations of the earth. Aftermath. When the light faded, silence reigned. The hive mind's pulsing orb was shattered, its dark influence lifted like a shroud. Rhea stood among the ruins of the hive, battered but victorious. Around her, the surviving resistance fighters gathered, bruised, weary, but free. The war was far from over, but the first true victory had been won. Rhea raised her halberd high, voice ringing with resolve. This is our world, our home, and we will protect it, no matter the cost. Epilogue, A World Reborn. The morning sun spilled golden light across the horizon, brushing the earth with warmth and promise. Where once lay the shattered ruins of war, now green shoots pushed defiantly through cracked concrete and scorched soil. Birdsong filled the air, fragile, beautiful, and unmistakably alive. Commander Rhea Arden stood atop a gentle hill overlooking the valley where the battle had raged. Her armor, though scarred and worn, gleamed softly in the dawn's light. The halberd rested against her shoulder, a quiet symbol of the fight endured and won. Around her, survivors of the resistance labored, rebuilding homes, planting trees, and forging new bonds forged in the fire of shared sacrifice. Lyra worked alongside them, her laughter a balm to the weary souls. Milo's absence was a heavy silence, but his memory burned bright in every act of kindness and courage. Myra adjusted the controls on a newly erected communications tower, linking the scattered settlements with the wider world, a network born from hope, not fear, a promise. Carved in stone, Rhea knelt and traced her fingers over a smooth stone tablet newly placed among the saplings. Here lies the promise of Earth's rebirth, she said softly. A vow to protect, to fight, to endure. The tablet bore the names of the fallen, heroes who had kindled the ember that had become a wildfire of resistance. The horizon ahead, as the sun climbed higher, Rhea's gaze lifted to the distant sky, where the stars still whispered ancient secrets. The fight may never truly end, she murmured, but as long as we stand together, the light will always find a way. She rose, shoulders squared, eyes shining with unyielding determination. The world was broken, but not beyond. Repair, it was in every sense, reborn. The end.
Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the story. Let me know in the comments what ideas you would like the next story to be about. Please leave a thumbs up, share, subscribe, comment.